They'll be on our YouTube channel. Oh, there we go. Something we always, or I always forget. Okay, where's the screen? I can't see it, guys. What's new, Savannah? How's it going?
Yeah, going good. It's been busy. What about you? How's the hospital been?
It's been okay. Yeah, I'm trying not to work as much as possible. So
Yeah, it's
um,
like that.
I just had Martin Luther King off and had like 6 days off. I didn't even realize it. I didn't even do anything cool. Just kind of sat at home and did nothing.
It's a good chunk of time to sit at home and not do anything.
Yeah. All right, 5:03. Let's get it started. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, I'll start with intros here. Hey everyone, how's it going? Alex Sabio here, married father of four, live in Southern California. It is 2023. We got big goals here. We're closing on our 7th short-term rental in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, probably in another month here. So really excited to do that. That's all I focus in on is short-term rentals. I'm a respiratory therapist. Hopefully we're walking away from the W-2 here in a few months here. And really excited about that. But my passion has been helping other healthcare workers start their own short-term rental business. And that's when I met Savannah, who was a registered nurse, and we started the healthcare professionals investing in real estate, and that's been pretty fun. I've been really busy lately. Really do want to put more time into it with these webinars, and we're trying to do them like once a month now, right? So we're going to hit them with really high-level guests.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe it's already 4,000 people in that group that we started, which is really awesome. But yeah, my name's Savannah. I am a registered nurse. I'm also here in SoCal. I'm in Los Angeles. I started investing in real estate 2020. I do multifamily syndication, so raise money primarily from other healthcare professionals who want to invest passively in real estate. So walked away from my full-time job last year. I'm in the process of building a startup for healthcare professionals revolving around financial wellness. So I've really been kind of focused on that, but still having a lot of fun with this group and connecting with other healthcare professionals who are investing in real estate. We've created so many amazing connections from this group and shared so many resources. So super excited to have you here today, Justin. I'll let you intro yourself and kind of kick it off and tell everyone all about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, especially from the fact that my wife is a PA. She works in occupational medicine. She actually works, I'm coming to you from Maine today. She works at Bath Iron Works, which is the largest employer in Maine. They build Navy destroyers that end up over there where you are, Alex, over in San Diego, eventually down at the Navy base. And so she works with those. So a little bit of my connection here. Me, I run away from just the sight of blood, so I'm not necessarily medical side. But my name's Justin Ford. I am a short-term rental safety expert. This is my 25th year in the short-term rental industry. I co-founded and started the largest vacation rental company in the entire Northeast back in 1997 in Maine, and grew it to be the largest, managed over 600 vacation rentals. At the same time, I'm a U.S. Coast Guard veteran and a 15-year veteran as a firefighter. So all that kind of came together, as you can imagine, when you're putting a property manager, a vacation rental manager, a firefighter, and a safety guy from boating safety together. And in 2013, experienced a really bad accident at one of the properties that I managed that led to permanent disability for one of our guests. And it was at that time that I kind of looked around and said, wait a minute, how was I supposed to know this could happen? And what can I do to prevent it? And realized nobody else was addressing it. And so I started putting together some safety checklists, not just based on code. My secret sauce has been my access to the insurance industry and getting a really good understanding of the type of accidents that they're having claims come in for that don't make the media, that certainly not a lot of people get to hear about. And from that, I've developed a checklist that I believe will help keep renters safe when they come stay at your properties. I feel like it's an obligation that everybody has. So I'm excited to share a presentation with you today that really is kind of a 101 and gets you in depth and looking at what you need to do if you're investing in a property. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they invest in a property to become a short-term rental and then realize, wow, wait a minute, there's a lot to do here to make this safe. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. And if you just take one thing back from all of this, hopefully you'll be safer in your own home. And I hear that all the time from people. They're like, yeah, this is great for my rental property, but I just learned a few things about my own house that I hadn't even thought of.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard you speak and I was like, I kind of got scared after listening to you speak, and I realized there was so much that, and I felt like I dove in and went all in and tried to make it safe, but no, no, I'm like, I really do need to listen to an expert because I haven't had any horror stories yet. I haven't experienced anything that, and now I'm just trying to learn from you.
I hope nobody ever has a horror story, but the reality is the short-term rental is the most dangerous sector of the hospitality industry. And
yes,
more people were injured or killed in a short-term rental this past year, 2022, than in all of the hotel incidents worldwide in the past 3 decades. So that's how dramatic the difference is between short-term rentals and hotels. And we've got to jump in there and go after it.
All right, I'm out then. All right, Justin, what do you got for us?
I'm going to jump right into my presentation. Please feel free to ask questions, and we'll come back and address those. And I promise you, as I share this with you tonight, there's no reason for any of you to get bored. Don't run away from safety on this. I'm going to keep you entertained while sharing some things that maybe you've never thought of before.
And if anyone has any questions and you don't want to interrupt Justin, just go ahead and drop the questions in the chat. And if anyone's on Facebook, go ahead and drop any questions in the comments, and we'll try to get those questions in. Awesome.
And you've got me up live on the screen. You got my slideshow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful picture.
Just off the bat, I want to introduce where I'm from. I am with Breezeway. Breezeway is the world leader in property care and operations. We're a software platform. We're really the only software platform in the world that focuses exclusively on helping people manage the cleaning, the maintenance, and the inspections, everything that you need to do to operate a property for profit to make sure everything's going smoothly. And our software has just been growing by leaps and bounds. We started in 2017, and now we've penetrated very strong into the short-term rental industry. I can't even keep up. It seemed like just yesterday we only had 20,000 properties on our platform, and we're well into the hundreds of thousands now. So it basically helps you do everything, guest communications. We're not a PMS. We're not a property management software. We help the back of the house. We help you do what you need to do to make sure that your property runs efficiently and smoothly. And we get to look into a lot of different data. We're working in several countries now. We just opened an office in Spain. We're doing a lot in Europe. So, and I just came back from Mexico. So just doing stuff, multi-language, anything that you need to do to help operate your property. So why am I at Breezeway? Well, I'm at Breezeway because I help develop a lot of the checklists that people utilize to inspect their properties, not just for cleaning and maintenance, but also for safety. And we've seen a huge demand and the need for people to address safety. As I mentioned, it's a really big problem in our industry. I believe that everyone needs to be an expert in safety. And if you put that in perspective, you guys are in medical care. There's no way you're touching a patient. You're not going in and doing surgery unless you understand exactly the tools that you need, the patient history, everything that you need to know. And if you want to even put it in simpler forms in another occupation, if you're an auto mechanic, you need to know how to tighten the lug nuts on and do everything you need to do to make sure that before you send a car back out on the road, it's safe to drive again. And so many people come into the real estate industry thinking they know it because they live in it, and they don't understand that the way that they live and utilize a residence or a dwelling is not the same that other people do. So being an expert is really, really important. Safety is, and somebody, I don't know who, somebody that might need to mute their microphone. I'm hearing somebody talking in the background. If you did you get it there? You got it. All right, cool.
Yeah, I think it was me. It's my bad, Justin.
All right. Looking at Savannah. So safety is a hot topic and it's coming out a lot. The media can't stop talking about it now. I used to get media requests once every 2 or 3 months. I'm getting them daily now. I think I had 6 today. I was like, holy smokes. It's in the news. U.S. Consumer Product Safety Council did a big campaign last summer. A lot of it's because pool drownings are so high, furniture tip over hazards, fires. And as I'll mention again here, I mean, the number one phone call placed from a short-term rental isn't for the Wi-Fi password, it's to poison control. So a lot of different issues that are going on. National Safety Council, U.S. Consumer Product Safety Council, they turn to me now as a resource. It's pretty neat. Used to be that I went to them. They didn't have much. Now I've developed so much information here at Breezeway that they actually come to us. And I was just on Good Morning America recently as well. So it's really neat now to see what we've put together here at Breezeway as a resource that really the world is turning to. And we regularly meet with the big guys, Airbnb, VRBO, Booking. So we have direct lines of communication with all the health and trust and safety teams for those companies. As I said, I was just on Good Morning America, and I get interviewed quite a bit in the media. I think that was this Inside Business I was just on recently, talking about different accidents and safety. So this is a perspective I always like to introduce when it comes to safety and short-term rentals. And this is the problem that we have in our industry. These are fake ads, but imagine this. Imagine if you got an email from Delta that said, hey, your flight's coming up soon, but just so you know, our oxygen masks don't always work, so make sure you bring your own oxygen can as a backup. Or if you were about to go on a cruise and they said, hey, we can't really guarantee your safety, please bring your own life jacket. I mean, it's kind of funny to look at, but if you really think about it, I mean, that'd be crazy. It'd be insane. That's not the responsibility of a passenger on a plane or a cruise ship. That's what is out there when they're paying for this. Yet, this should be an embarrassment to our entire industry that the media is putting it out there, that when you go stay in someone else's home, you should bring a smoke detector. You should bring a carbon monoxide alarm. I just got a sample in the mail of this new traveling carbon monoxide alarm that they want me to endorse and say it's great. It kills me to think that we need to do that. People shouldn't have to come stay in someone else's home and be worried about their safety. And that's the problem that we have in this industry, and it's growing quickly. There have been a lot of accidents out there and they catch the news all the time. There's different things. And even when we're putting regulations in place, it's not solving them. Alex, out where you are in Malibu, first death 2 years ago in a short-term rental for the country was right here in Malibu Hills. Gentleman was staying in a room that did not have a working smoke alarm. He didn't have time to get up. And they had just passed regulations back in October in Malibu to go into effect that should have prevented this accident. And yet the homeowner or host didn't address it. They didn't pay attention. Whatever reason, they just felt safety wasn't as important as it should be for them. This has been awful. The biggest. Oh, man. Yeah, it's tough. This was the one I was on Good Morning America about. This is going to be an industry changing event. This happened last summer. This gained international attention. And I like to highlight that because I'm showing it to you from a newspaper out of London, the Daily Mail. 2 young ladies died in this VRBO short-term rental in the Hamptons where inspections were required because the homeowners didn't do the inspections. They didn't check the smoke alarms. And there were 58 building code violations in this property after they died. The 2 girls never woke up. They found them in their bed. They did not have a chance to get up because the smoke alarms didn't go off. They weren't interconnected. The gas grill cooking area outside of the property is where this fire started. It wasn't built to code. It wasn't safe. I mean, there was just so many things that were wrong here. But what's going to amplify this is the parents of these 2 young girls. They survived, and the dad is a former U.S. federal prosecutor. He's got a lot of friends. The lawsuit was filed in November. It's making big news and a lot of people are talking about it, and it's getting attention at a national level. I've talked to US senators, I've talked to US congressmen, they're aware of this. We need to get out ahead of this before they do. We need to self-regulate ourselves, because the regulations that do come are going to be crippling. We're talking sprinkler systems retrofitted in short-term rentals. We don't want that to happen. There's ways that we can prevent these things from happening. That happened, and then 3 weeks later, someone else died from a fire in Hilton Head. They just keep happening, and people aren't learning lessons about what happens. And back again in Malibu, which I like to pick on a little bit because there's been so many accidents there. They had an accident back in 1992 where a deck collapsed and killed 2 people. And then yet last year, deck collapsed next door, same thing, 21 people injured. There shouldn't have been that many people on the deck. The deck shouldn't have had inspections. It should have made it safe. Again, we're just not learning our lessons that these things can happen over and over. And then yet another person died.
That was all over the news. I remember when that happened. They have footage of it and everything.
Yeah, the quick note on that one that's interesting is it was rented to 6 people, but yet they had a birthday party for 24 people. The homeowner was on the phone pleading with the guests to get everybody to leave. They thought they had an open shut door case because there were too many people there, but they don't, because any building contractor or expert who's gone in and looked at it, forensic architects, have said that deck should have held 40 people. So even though the renters shouldn't have had to be there, the fact that it collapsed with only 21 people on it is not going to help that host out at all.
Oh man, wow.
I was just in Colorado Springs and I look at this stuff. I was at this property. Someone was asking, should they invest in this as a short-term rental? They're going to sleep 16 people there. And I hope you see it now that we've been talking about decks. Really? Do you want 16 people up on that deck there? And they hadn't even taken any consideration to that at all. And it doesn't take much math. They had a contractor come in. They're actually ripping that deck off. These are things you need to look at when you're investing in properties. It's really easy to quickly go, hey, wow, this property can sleep 16 people, but can it really support 16 people to generate the income you want? It's really important for communities, cities, towns. I'm picking on Nashville right here, but this is a great thing. Cities and towns need to promote that they're a safe destination. Not a lot of cities in the US actually have safety inspections. Palm Springs, California is one of my favorite destinations. Palm Springs, California probably has the best safety protocols, and they don't have as many accidents as a result of it. It costs about $1,000 a year for inspections and things. You've got to have electrical inspections of your pools. But when you take into effect that Palm Springs has more pools per capita than any city in the country, and that they hardly have any pool drownings, and then you go over to Florida and they're having hundreds, you can see that those type of safety inspections do work, and it's a safer place to go stay. So it's good. Safety's good. You want to promote that your community cares about it. A few things that I look at in Nashville a lot, and again, I'm just picking on Nashville just randomly, but I could go to any city or town anywhere we go. They rebuilt a lot of properties there. They're called tall and skinnies. They used to have these little lots with these little Sears Craftsman houses on it, but now they're tall and skinny. And they've got a real challenge with egress. These rooms are small and narrow. These are things people have to think about. And they've had several accidents there with these type of homes. Now you got to start thinking about escape ladders. How do the runners get out? I've seen where they're putting these fire pits on the roof. Gas fire pits is some scary stuff that goes on. And I was looking at a property there the other day. They had bikes. One of the big things I'll talk about is amenities. These are all crazy things you don't want to offer. You don't know who the last person was riding that bike, what they did to it. They might have adjusted the seat for their 7-year-old and now it's too low. The brakes might not work. So that brings into all the baby gear that I see in these rental properties. I don't believe it should be there. And again, we'll talk about that more. There are so many glaring accidents in this rental property. Again, things I see all the time that probably you may not see right off the bat. One thing I do like is the TV that's here. It does have a strap on it to keep it from tipping over. But this doesn't have legal egress. The window that's over there is supposed to be within a certain number of inches from the floor, and it varies from area to area, but generally speaking, it's 40 inches to 42 inches by code. Has to be low enough so that somebody can get out in a fire. And this is a basement room. They're not going to be able to get out easily, especially if they're elderly or young kids. This rental property here, again, number one accident I see all the time, slips, trips, and falls. It may not jump right out at you, but if you look closely, you'll see the handrail is not to code. When you start to go up those stairs, you have to go up several stairs before you get to a handrail, and you're supposed to have a handrail within 30 inches. One of the insurance companies I work with has been getting claims that are in the $250,000 to $350,000 range when they fall downstairs, when a renter falls downstairs and there's not a handrail. And if it's not the code, they don't pay out on them. This property here, couple glaring safety issues, and these are things to think about when you're going in if you're offering these properties. Has an electrical panel right there. It doesn't have a lock on it. Think about this. When you go into a hotel, a restaurant, any commercial area, you don't get access to an electrical panel. They have a $7 lock on them. Why should the renters have access to that? If breakers are tripping, you want to know about it. Where's a fire extinguisher in here? It's really important to have a fire extinguisher in its code. Hot tubs are really popular, a lot of different amenities. As I look at this one right here, there's no safety signage. If you're going to have pools and hot tubs at your properties, you've got to have them set up just like the local Hampton Inn or the local Marriott residence. You've got to have safety signs. You've got to warn that people are pregnant. They shouldn't be getting in if they talk to their doctor. All these things keep coming back in cases when accidents are happening. How was the guest warned? And they can't sign their life away on waivers. Bunk beds are a really big problem. Bunk bed accidents are the top 3 accidents that we're seeing in rentals right now. We've just seen some rental company or some insurance companies now say they won't insure properties that have bunk beds. One company I work with a lot, Proper Insurance, they're a really big insurer for vacation rentals. They've instituted that they'll charge an extra $100 premium per bunk bed just to try and deter property owners from having them because of the risks that are involved. You've got to have a safety rail that goes at least 5 inches above the mattress. Ladders are fixed. That's not what's going on here. That egress window's pushing it. You got kids in there. And then up on this rooftop, again, glaring issues that need to be looked at. They've got this up high. There's more than a 30-inch drop. That hot tub is pushed up too close to the railing. Someone standing on the bench seat in there can easily fall out. And Alex, you talked about the Smoky Mountains. We've seen several accidents there. Those cabins that are up really high in the Smokies that have 4 and 5 decks and the hot tubs up against the railing. The kids are looking at, hey, Mom, there's a bear, or there's my brother, and they lean and they fall out because they don't have the right railing protection.
Oh my God,
So
I'm thinking about my property right now.
Yeah, don't tell me yours tonight. So the way that we do this is we do all the inspections with an app. I've built this app and people are able to go in and they can do these self-inspections. And I'm going to walk you through what we do and what you should look at. Now, there's several different levels of inspections you can do. I'm going to do what I call the onboarding inspection with you right now. This is everything you need to consider to bring on a house 101. It doesn't mean you have to do all these things all the time, but it's all things to be aware of. Number 1's the address marker. You may not think about it. I was a firefighter for 15 years. When you're in a fire truck, it's dark at night and you're riding and you've got headphones on. You're talking about who's putting the air packs on. You're talking to the dispatcher. So many things are going on. You're listening for other trucks to roll. The last thing you want to do is be hunting around to try and find the address. And it's even that much more important for an ambulance driver. And so it's really critically important that it's easy to find your property at night or in the daytime, that trees aren't blocking it. And up in the upper right, I see this stuff all the time, where it's blended in. That's not the code in any of the states. It's shabby chic. And you may get away with that with your own home for a while and you don't want people to find you, that's fine. But when you've got renters there, it's got to be easy for them to find it. Stairs are a really big one. Handrails. If you go to a commercial restaurant, any commercial entity with pressure treated stairs, you're going to see it as a handrail. And I go to so many rental properties, just like the one with all those people on, or even this elderly woman in the bottom right. She's gripping onto the cap on the top of the guardrail. That's not a handrail. That's not to code. And that's where these falls keep happening from. Lighting has to be on the top of the stairs. And these things get overlooked all the time. When you buy a property, this is an investment you're going to have to make, is to make sure all the stairs are up to code and they've got handrails, they've got good lighting so that people can get into them safely. I saw this in a listing photo just before it was pulled off of Verbo, and I zoomed in on it. This was the stair riser on a deck at a vacation rental where a terrible accident happened. And I think you'll agree, Savannah and Alex, those are not stairs you wanted to go up. And yet those stairs collapsed and sent 13 people to the hospital because they went and did what this group in the upper right did. Everyone wants to do the Instagram photo on the deck stairs. They're not made for it. You don't know. You never know what the general public's going to do at your property. So you got to prepare for that and say, geez, you know, if I'm sleeping 16 people here and I've got 4 bedrooms, what happens if all 16 people decide to do the Instagram photo on my deck stairs? Have they been checked? Can they hold that load? You're all deck experts now. When you look underneath the deck, anywhere you go, you've got to see lag bolts and screws, not nails. And these deck collapses, especially those 2 that I showed you earlier, those happened because it was constructed with nails, not only with rotten wood, but nails were holding things in. And there's over 80%, Washington Post did an article on this a couple of years ago, 80% of decks in the United States are potentially prone to failure. And right now they say 50% of all decks in the United States should be replaced. We have a deck epidemic in our country. People think that they last as long as a house. They don't. And if they're in a coastal environment, they last even less time. And they've got to be replaced. They've got to be inspected regularly to ensure that they're going to hold proper loads. Grills have been a really big topic lately. We just had a nice woman unfortunately pass away in Panama City Beach, Florida on Christmas Eve, staying at a vacation rental. The grill was underneath the deck stairs. They were trying to grill out underneath the deck stairs. That's where the homeowner put it. Homeowner didn't think about it. You're supposed to have 9 feet of vertical clearance above the surface of a grill. This grill did not have it, and it caught the house on fire, and she could not get out in time. And as I said, she perished. Very important to think about that. It's pretty straightforward. Almost every city or town has some regulations like this that says what you're supposed to do with grills, and you've got to know about that. I'm up here in the Northeast. You pay a $500 fine for having a grill on a deck. Yet down in Florida, they don't have any of that in place. Or you go to Texas, or I was out in Utah recently. But then you go up into Kansas or into Missouri, and you know, so it's people aren't learning lessons from other areas where we know this is the problem. And I look right over here, you know, at this property in Nashville, and there's the grill. You know, it's got 9 feet of clearance, but doesn't have 3 feet behind it. So very important that it's got 3 to 10 feet away horizontally, 9 feet vertically. I was just at this rental property. I was in Big Sky, Montana. Look at this. Look at all these grills right here. And yet just down the road in Sun Valley, Idaho, they just had a fire that destroyed 20 vacation rental units because of a grill placed just like that. And the same thing happened in the Lake of the Ozarks. This was at a VRBO property. The grill was in the upper right deck, and the renter was having trouble changing out the tank, had a gas leak, boom, $33 million loss. So all of these are different scenarios at short-term rentals we see all the time. We also see where the tanks leak on the O-rings, they crack. We've also seen, and this is a side thing, some of you that are heavily into the medical field understand and have heard this, those grill bristle Brussels, we've had a lot of trouble with those. They get stuck on the grill and then they get ingested into people's throat. We've seen surgery from that and different claims. So really important to keep and switch over to the Brillo type, the round wire type grill bristle Brussels. Grill, that's a tongue twister. I'm not going to try again.
Justin, we have that a lot in the Smokies. Everyone's trying to put, because everyone has like a deck, a wooden deck, and they're putting grills back there. And I told them, I said, I was just at a meetup where Justin Ford showed this exact picture with the grill, and it's absolutely no. But the thing is, like, all of these people are like, half the people are like, oh, I have a grill at my deck and I've never had an issue. But you're bringing up so many good points here.
I hear that all the time, and this might be a tacky way to approach it, but I tell people all the time, every time they say, well, I've never had an issue, I always say, you know what, John F. Kennedy was never assassinated until he was. He rode around in an open car, had no problems until one day. And so it really, it's not a matter of if or when, and you've got to have that mentality. Lighting's really important. Almost 60% of all accidents at a short-term rental actually happen after a guest arrives at night within the first hour of arrival because they're not well lit up. I tell people all the time, go to your property at night, make sure, and if you're investing in a property that's another state, you're in California, it's back in Tennessee, make sure you ask your cleaner once in a while to drive by at night, go check, make sure all the lights are working, so that the renters can see, and they shouldn't have to use their cell phone light to get into the property. Again, I mentioned earlier pools and hot tubs. You can see here as an example. This is a vacation rental in Vermont in the top. They've got the life ring, they got life vests for kids, they got a pool safety hook. I'm not going to go too long into it. It actually gets me kind of emotional when I bring it up, but we just had a really big save because I told some people to put a pool safety hook at one of their rental properties, and one of their children started to drown, and it was the very first renters that came in after they installed that pool safety hook, and they saved their life with it. So just sometimes subtly saying something like that can save something here. The hot tubs, kids shouldn't be able to access them. I always say put a strap on it. Those plastic locks that come with the covers, they don't work. They break, they're easy to get open. You got to put a strap so that a kid 7 and under can't open it up. They get excited. They're on vacation. Mom and dad are still sleeping, and they want to get back in that hot tub that mom and dad left them in the night before, and then the cover blows on top of them and they're trapped and they drown. Fire extinguishers are really big. I go over and over this with people all the time. If this is the biggest message I can give to you tonight, and I'm only going to say that until I talk about smoke alarms, listen to this line right here, because this is key and important. A fire extinguisher is a tool that you give the renters to save your investment property. If you hide it because it's ugly, if you bury it under the sink, they're not going to use it, and they're not going to try and save your property. And I don't care how much insurance you have, they're not going to cover loss of income. They're not going to cover how difficult it is to get a contractor to come in there. And they're not going to call up all of the renters that you have booked to say, hey, sorry, we had a fire in our kitchen and it's going to be 3 months. You can complain all you want about the renters having started the fire, whatever. Give them the tool and make it easy. And I see this so often. It'll be buried under a sink. These renters panic. It's not their home. They're out of there. They're going to grab a few things and leave. If it's your home, you're going to make an effort on it. So make it as easy as possible. And it is law. It's code. Within 30 feet of all cooking appliances, including at grills, you need to have a fire extinguisher handy and have it at a point of exit. This one's a great example on the left because the fire extinguisher, you can't see it, but there's a doorway right there. And you can see the stoves are way down. Renter leaves, stove catches on fire. They come back into the kitchen after they've just got done yelling at their kids. And they go, oh my gosh, it's on fire. Now they're in a position where they're near the exit. They can grab the fire extinguisher and go close to put it out. But if that fire extinguisher is way down by the source, they're not going down there. It's too hot. The Tamarack fire that killed 4 people in Idaho at a vacation rental in 2017 really brought a lot of this to light. That rental property did not have a fire extinguisher. And actually in the settlement of that case, it was highlighted not only that there wasn't a fire extinguisher, but experts came in. I was asked to testify on that one, that if there was a fire extinguisher, they would have saved the property. The fireplace exploded, gas fireplace, due to a gas leak. And when it exploded, everyone was still alive. They just couldn't find a fire extinguisher. They were running around with bowls of water trying to put the fire out. Now, I said fire extinguishers are big, but actually this is it. This is the #1 most important thing. Since man started walking around on this planet, when we were living in caves, we've lived with a roof over our head to protect ourselves from elements. We didn't have smoke alarms back then, but now think about that same scenario. That's the way we still need to remember to live. The only thing you need besides a roof over your head to protect yourself is a way to wake you up if there's a fire so that you can leave and get out. And so that is why this is the single most important item in a rental property. It's more important than the mattresses. It's more important than the thread count. It's more important than the TV. It's more important than the windows. You've got to have a way that your guests can wake up. And we're having a huge problem, as I highlighted from some of those recent fires, where we don't have these in. And you need to understand what types there are. There's 3 different types here, and there are different types. These 2 right here on the left and right, well, they're number 1 ranked smoke alarms that are out there. They scored 92 on consumer alerts. I'm a huge fan of First Alert. First Alert hasn't had a recall of any of their fire smoke alarms since early 2000s, whereas Kitty's had a lot. So I'm a big fan of that First Alert. That's what I have in my own home and in my rental properties. It's dual detection. It detects both through ionization, which is slow smoldering fires, as well as fast flashing fires with photoelectric. At the very top, that's a commercial alarm. They've got to be replaced after 10 years. They do not make yellow smoke alarms. If they're not fancy, nice looking white plastic, that means they're too old. It's time to replace them. And I point that out also for those of you that are in doctor's office. I was in my own doctor's office getting a vaccine shot this morning, and I looked up and I'm like, that alarm is really old. It's yellow. And they're like, yeah, we don't know. You got to speak up. They don't make them yellow. Carbon monoxide alarms. A lot of the ones that are on the market are junk. I see junk ones all the time and it frustrates me. You want digital readout ones, and they need to be in all the properties. We just had those 3 people die at an Airbnb in Mexico that's making international headlines because they didn't have working carbon monoxide alarms down there. I'm working very closely with the Mexican government right now on that, and we're trying to resolve that. You got to have the digital readouts, and I'm pushing really hard for Mexico to go just like the state of Maine, where I live. Illinois, some other states are now starting to require these explosive gas alarms built in with carbon monoxide. Go right to that. If you've got carbon monoxide in your rental property, you probably have a source for gas, and you want to know if there's a gas leak as well. They're like $50. They've got a memory in them, so I'm a big fan. This shouldn't be a surprise.
Can I ask real quick something about smoke detectors? Because a lot of us have like a lot of automation and tech. And I was researching, like, do they have like Wi-Fi smoke detectors? I know I have in my house, it's the Nest or whatever, but it's really expensive. It's like $120. And to be honest with you, I haven't read good reviews. I mean, is that something you would recommend, or do you just go straight with the Kitty ones?
Alex, I'll tell you, I'm not a fan of Nest at all. And as you pointed out, it doesn't have good reviews. It's got bells and whistles that it supposedly self-checks itself. No, it shouldn't do that. Consumer Reports hated them. The very first fire I ever went into as a firefighter had one of the earlier models of the Nest, and it wasn't even going off. We're like looking, going, why is that alarm? Is it not working? And we hit the test, yeah, I'm not a fan of those at all. My setup in my house, and this is what I recommend, the absolute best setup you can have if you don't have a commercial alarm, is to have these First Alert dual detection alarms. And then I use the Ring system. Ring has a new product, about a year and a half old now. They're little hockey pucks, and they're called smoke and CO alarm detectors, listeners. And what they do is you mark them and put them next to the smoke alarm. They listen and hear this really good smoke alarm going off, and they'll send a signal so it comes up on your app, all that stuff. But they also make a product called the Dome Alarm. It's $30. It's a high-pitched siren, and they're battery operated. You can stick them all over your house. So now when any smoke alarm goes off, it notifies the listener, and then the listener can set off all the Dome sirens, which actually put out a much louder noise than the smoke alarm itself. And if you've got renters and you just have the Ring keypad that's $30, and give them the code so they can turn it off if they've burnt popcorn or something. But that, to me, right now, is the best non-commercial setup that you can have on the market, are these First Alert dual detection alarms that are $30-40 a piece. You can get them cheaper in bulk, and then using the Ring. But I would never use in my home that Nest. I get it. It's cool, and it tells you if the power went out. But I just did a social media post on this. I went into Home Depot and Lowe's. I counted 72 different models of smoke and CO alarms that were there, and there wasn't one that I would buy. not one.
Wow.
Home Depot
Wow.
had 2 that I would have bought. And the big box stores have a bunch of junk. It's usually True Value or, some of the smaller chain hardware stores that I go in where they have the much better ones. And of course, Amazon has these as well.
Quick question,
Yeah, go
Justin, to recap your optimal system. So it's the first alert, CO2 and fire alarm combination is the one you're suggesting?
No, and so yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Just to clarify, there's a lot of different references, and I know this can get confusing. And I'll give you access to stuff after this too to make it clear for you. I actually have a whole 20-minute video on my setup in my house. So I can share the link for anybody. But there is a dual detection smoke alarm, which is what these 2 are right here, the 2 lower big ones. The U.S. Fire Administration, the U.S. Fire Marshal, Consumer Reports, everyone says that every home should be equipped with dual detection smoke alarms. So they're detecting both fire and smoke. What you threw in there was combination. Now they do make a combination smoke alarm. That's a consumer gimmick. That was designed because we as Americans want things to be convenient. So what they did is they put a carbon monoxide alarm and mixed it in with a photoelectric, which only detects flame, smoke alarm, and they call it a combination alarm. Those are junk. I would never put those anywhere. That's kind of like buying the cheapest car that's out there. I always give the analogy. They came up with a product a while ago called, it was an RV and it was a boat, and you backed it down and you could go float around Lake Mead on it, or then you could drive it down the road. It never made a big hit because it was a crappy boat and it was a crappy truck. So remember that when it comes to combo. Combo is no good. Dual is the way you want to go. And then when it comes to the carbon monoxide alarms, you want the digital readout ones like this First Alert or Kitty. These also come with wires on the back. You can screw in and use those cord cover things that are $10 at Lowe's. Again, I have more information on this that goes into detail, but you want the digital readout ones, not the cheap ones that just plug into an outlet. Some kid's going to unplug that when you least expect it.
Oh my God, I have all the plug-in ones from Costco.
Alex,
Yes, I need to change them. See, that's why I need you here, man.
Yeah. So here's a scary thing, and this is some new data that we just put together. It's the alcohol fire lethal mixture. So they just did a study in McGill University, and I combined that with another study that just came out from a university in Japan. McGill found out that 73% of American adults who drink always do on vacation. So, okay, that's a lot. A lot of people drink when they go on vacation. We know that. But the study in Japan said that all of the fire deaths, 65% of fire deaths worldwide in the past decade, when they'd gone in and said, hey, the smoke alarm worked, why didn't these people get out? They found they were under the influence of alcohol. Put those 2 things together. We have people coming into our properties that are going to drink, and they're not even going to wake up when you have the best case scenario of smoke alarms. And that's why it's so important that you test and go through those, because half of our renters are going to reach some level of intoxication during their stay, and they're unlikely to wake up. And that's why I like those, the dome alarm. It's a red flashing siren. It puts out 95 decibels, which is higher than the minimum standard at 85. I have a whole thing that you can use to test it. It's a free app on your phone, the Decibel app. You can download this, go into your home. Every smoke alarm that's sold in the US has to meet UL standards. UL standards say you need to be able to hear 85 decibels within 10 feet of the pillow. You can take that free Decibel app on your smartphone and go to have someone set the smoke alarm off in the kitchen while you're upstairs in the kid's bedroom with the door closed. If you're not seeing 85 decibels, you're failing. You're not going to wake these people up, and the kids don't wake up. 2 to 12, we already know that. Now we got people who are drunk that don't wake up. And as we know, everybody's getting stoned on vacation. When I go to Colorado, they're like, our renters are all stoned when they show up. So now you got all these states legalizing marijuana, people going on vacation that's not legal where they are, they're getting stoned. You got all these people under all these different influences. And then add to that elderly people over the age of 60. That's going to be me in 10 years. As we age, it becomes harder to hear. They don't wake up. So it's so critically important that you're meeting all these standards to make sure every room in your house. That's how the New York fire happened. The girls never heard a smoke alarm going off. They never woke up. And you've got to make sure of that, and make sure of it in your own home as well. Carbon monoxide is a really big one. The young lady who asked that question before, it said something about CO2. That's what you put in your beer. CO, carbon monoxide. There's no 2 on it. You've got to make sure that you're checking for that. There was the big Anna Faris incident that happened at a vacation rental in Lake Tahoe a couple of years ago. We're seeing these incidents all over the place. First aid kits. I'm a big fan. I go into rental properties all the time. They're giving away wine and soap and all that stuff. I always say, give them a first aid kit. It's a sales marketing tool as well. This first aid kit costs $5 from Walmart, has 85 items in it. Then you're never having to worry about the renters taking a bunch of stuff out and it's not stocked when you need it. And then when they take it home, they actually remember that you cared about them. We've seen people get, this company here in Colorado Springs, Hosty, uses these. They get bookings out of these because they'll like pull it out at a kid's soccer game to use. And someone's like, what's that? So definitely important. This is the cheapest, most important life-saving tool in a rental property. There's actually a legal case going on right now that this would have prevented it. I know a bunch of people are out there using those digital guidebooks and you end up sending the driving directions in a text, or they send it and it's in an email or in a guidebook. So the renter who's there is the only one who knows where they are. And cell phones don't always work for 911 like they should. There's just been a ton of incidents recently. There's a big noteworthy one that just happened where the incident was happening in California, but it ended up back at a dispatcher in Missouri, and then it messed everything up. Well, the case that I'm talking about was an elderly couple that was on vacation. He's the one who had all the driving directions, all the information, and he suffered a heart attack. Well, when his wife called, they couldn't pinpoint because he had turned off the geolocation on the phone. They couldn't pinpoint exactly where he was, and it took 10 extra minutes for an ambulance response. He perished. I mean, the woman was doing everything she could to do CPR and save her husband's life. She couldn't figure out where she was. If this card had been right there on the refrigerator or in a prominent location, and she could have looked up and just seen the address to say, this is where we are, it would have changed everything. I mentioned it earlier on. This is a really big problem. Washington Post did an article on this. We're seeing a lot of kids get into these rental properties and they're not familiar with stuff. Back at home, they use Tide powder. Now they're in a vacation rental and they use Tide pods. They've never seen it. They look like candy. Tide's been really, they've been dealing with this almost for 20 years now. I don't know. Those aren't even good. Hey, big investment tip here. Anything that's in a gel pod is terrible for your appliances. I talk to appliance repair people all the time. They said the thing that keeps them in business are Cascade and Tide pods, because that gel gets into the pumps and wears the pumps out, and then you need new pumps much sooner than you would otherwise. He thinks one of the guys I talked to said the appliance industry is in cahoots with those gel things. Get rid of those. Those are dangerous. You've got to keep the chemicals up high so the kids aren't getting into them. Interior stairs, I mentioned that earlier. If they're more than 30 inches above the adjacent surface, they've got to have handrails. They've got to be solid. Number one cause of accidents in short-term rentals are slips, trips, and falls. 83% of all insurance claims are related to slips, trips, and falls. I'm seeing all this stuff on Pinterest, and the media is killing me. I had a really big argument last week with a big media company because they keep promoting when Airbnb like puts a baked potato on, or you can stay in the Eiffel Tower, you can stay in Martha Stewart's house, whatever. They're doing these things. Even their own CEO, the CEO of Airbnb, Brian Chesky, just put his house up. I found 17 safety issues in his Airbnb. I'm like, guys, stop doing that. This staircase on the left is not to code. It looks cool, but there's no handrail. Even the staircase here on the right is barely meeting code. Your renter shouldn't have to lift their hand up as they go up the stairs. It may be fine in your own house, but as soon as you're putting the general public in your property, people you've never known, people you'll never meet, people you'll never see again, you don't know what they're going to do. You got to make sure. So the biggest one, the number one of all, are these carpet runners. I spend most of my time now. I was just in Steamboat, Colorado. I went through about 60 homes with the big company that brought me out there. I don't think there's a home that I went into where I wasn't like, why is this rug here? And you could even see it was folded back. It got to a point where they were finally getting it too. They're like, yeah, we've had some falls. I'm like, exactly. got to think about placement of carpets. In your own home, you might be able to walk around blindfolded and get to the bathroom, or walk downstairs to get your keys and not trip on a corner of a carpet. People who aren't familiar with that property, and you've got this rug that's sticking way out because it looks good, is going to end up becoming a really big problem for you. I had 2 requests today to do expert testimony because of carpet slips like this. They're happening a lot. And I went into a rental property. This was in down in Florida. This was in Bradenton Beach. And I went in, I said, why are these rugs here? And they said, I don't know. I mean, we thought they should be there. It's like, no, they're flying carpets. There's no point of it. Why do you need to wipe your feet to leave the property? You can wipe them outside to come in. And yeah, so we got rid of those. Egress, really important that you remember this. Every sleeping area in every bedroom in Canada, the United States, Europe, has to have an egress window unless there's a sprinkler system. If it's got a sprinkler system, it doesn't have to have it. Otherwise, it's got to have a window at least 5.7 square feet openable. And that's not only so people can get out, it's so firefighters can get in. Has to be within 44 inches of the floor. And this is a big problem with basements. I was just in Denver where, people were renting out an Airbnb in their basement. And I'm like, where's the egress window? This is a coffin. There's no way for people to get out. And they're like, geez, yeah, nobody, you're the first one to mention that. We've been running it 2 years. I'm like, it's not a matter of if, it's when. Bunk beds are really big. I talked about that. These are not legal bunk beds. These are at a vacation rental in Montana that rents for $30,000 a week. I mean, there's 2 glaring things here. One, when there's an injury, they know whoever owns this home is making a lot of money. When you take a look at some of the celebrities that have offered rentals, I can't tell you who they are, but I spend a lot of time going to celebrity properties that want to promote them because they realize how much they have to lose. If you've got money, they're going to come after it. And that bunk bed accident that happened last summer with the 12-year-old boy really has raised the whistle on this. It is federal law that you have to have at least 5 inches of safety protection above the mattress. And the problem here is those bunk beds did meet safety standard. Some homeowner thought it was a great idea to give the top bunk plush mattresses. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a kid complain about a mattress on a top bunk. Let them still have the 3 to 4 inch thin mattress. They'll be fine. You don't need to give them plush because now they have no safety protection. All the GFI outlets need to work. They trip all the time. Renters bring stuff into your house. We see a lot of electrical fires. Got to make, I see this all the time. This was in Missouri when I was there recently. I'm like, these aren't even GFI. And they're like, yeah, people are plugging their cell phones into this while they're sitting outside. This is a huge opportunity for an accident to happen, and they've got to meet code. If you've got fireplaces or gas fireplaces, they all need to be inspected regularly and checked. The thermocouplers go in gas fireplaces. All these need different inspections. You shouldn't have heaters floating around in the properties. And all of this comes together when you're done at the end into a report. And when you use the Breezeway app that we have, this is what happens. You take pictures, it comes into this report, and they actually can help you if you ever have, because every photo gets geotagged. Anybody who here wants to do a basic free safety inspection, it's really easy. Just go to breezeway.io/safety. You can sign up and have me do a safety review of your property on an 18-point inspection, which isn't as thorough as what we just did here. And you can see how easy this is. And it's free to do. When you're done, you get this report. We've seen these reports already used in court. Your Honor, I just checked all this stuff. And here's a report from 3 months ago. It's date time stacked. The insurance companies go, all right, yeah, we're going to pay that. They see people who are putting a conscious attention to safety. It's not negligence. Every single attorney who I speak with, they are looking for negligence. Negligence is saying, I don't know. No one told me that. I had no idea. Every single time those people lose. They go, yeah, I don't know. I mean, my neighbor had a house up on it as an Airbnb. He doesn't have a railing. I figured I could do that too. That is where they hammer you. And there's a big lawsuit that just happened as a deck fall in Charleston, South Carolina last summer, 4th of July. Guy leaning on a railing, he fell off and was injured. Well, they filed a claim against VRBO. They filed a claim against the homeowner. The insurance company just got removed from all claims on it in early December because they never knew it was a vacation rental. For 3 years, they had been operating it as a vacation rental and never informed their insurance company. The insurance company said, we're out of here. We're not covering this claim. You didn't tell us that. So we will give you a review. We'll give you a safety sticker. We've done 100,000 of these now. As you look around online, you're probably starting to see a lot more of our safety review stickers. And all these people are advertising it, and it works. I mentioned I was in Steamboat recently. I was just after I left, someone called and wanted to rent one of these really nice properties there that's like $70,000 for Christmas. This incredible property. I could never afford to rent a house like that. But the woman actually said, we're not going to rent this until you fix the bunk bed. That's not safe for my grandkids. People are paying attention. They're talking a lot about safety. If you want to learn a lot more about what I'm doing, I'll give everyone access, everyone who's here tonight, access to our safety course. We have the only short-term rental safety course in the world. I wrote it. I'm the instructor. It's online. You can do it on your iPad or on your cell phone. It takes about 6 hours. And when you think about it, just to unload baggage from an aircraft, you have to have 2 weeks of safety training. Here you are offering your home to the general public. It seems like 6 hours is pretty minor to do that. We give you a certificate at the end. So I'm happy to set anybody up with access. The course is $350, but anybody who's here live tonight, not on the pre-recorded, but anybody who's live here tonight can take the course for free if you'd like to. And it goes much more in depth to all the things that I talked about, including there's a 20-minute video that goes over the setup that I have with that ring alarm for the person who I spoke to earlier. We've got people who we've certified as safety inspectors all over the world now. And the best part is I mentioned proper insurance earlier. We work with some other insurance companies now. It's kind of like a safe driving discount. 5% discount on your semi-commercial premium with proper can be a couple $100s a year just because you've gone through and done a safety review with us. So I highly recommend that you do these safety reviews so that you can save some money on your insurance and show that you're committed to safety. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we're kind of right at 9, but I've got some time to stick around, Alex, if anybody has any questions that they want to ask.
Oh my gosh, we are scared to death now, but it's a good thing because we have a lot of really good hosts in our community that really do care about, like, you know, safety, making their place safe. The question I had, so is it breezeway.io/safety? Is that where people could sign up for the course? Okay,
exactly.
cool.
Both the course or if you just want to have a safety review done on your property, and the safety review is confidential. It's kind of like the patient-doctor relationship. We don't tell anybody if you don't pass it or there's anything that's not up to code or legal. It's just to help guide you through.
One of the other things I heard you say, because I had rugs in my place, and the cleaners kept telling me, you know, the doors keep getting stuck and, you know, someone's going to trip off of it. And I said, yeah, but they look pretty cool in the pictures. And then the one thing you said at the conference, you said, what hotel has a rug?
Yeah, exactly.
Hotels have got rid of the rugs a long time ago, right?
Yeah, the hotel industry is really, if you look closely, they've picked up on this. And I actually, I have it recorded on tape. In 2014, I did a presentation as I was just getting this rolling out in Phoenix, Arizona. And I said, one day the hotel industry is going to come after us on safety because they don't like short-term rentals. And sure enough, this past summer, Hilton did a whole entire ad campaign that showed people checking into a scary vacation rental saying, do you want to stay in this scary place with all these problems, or do you want to go stay? And then they showed people happy walking down the hall with fire extinguishers and sprinklers. So the hotel industry learned a long time ago what furniture doesn't tip over. When you go into a hotel, they don't anchor it to the wall. They don't have to. They're low and wide. They're not tall. And the TVs are secured to the wall, and they don't put carpets down on the bathroom floors. You have to put the towel down because you create your own trip hazard if you're going to.
Oh my gosh. And the one thing also, the other thing I did after listening to you, I put the anti-tip thing for the drawers. Because I remember as as a kid, I used to jump on top of that thing, try to fly off and try to pretend like I was a wrestler and elbow someone like it was just a pillar or whatever. But I could imagine people on vacation doing that. So I did that. Cool. Anyone with any other questions? There's so much really, really good info that you gave all of us. Even if people took just half of the stuff, I think their place would be so much safer.
Do short-term rentals need a landline if they're in an area where there is consistently good cell phone coverage?
They don't, and I don't think it's necessary as long as you've got that emergency safety card up there. It's a good point. There's areas, California's one of the few areas where I've seen that actually have those laws in place. In Tahoe, there's areas where if you don't have cell phone coverage and they actually check it, you have to have a landline. So it's a great question. You want to make it, if you're in an area where it could be difficult, I live in Maine, we have spotty areas. And if someone is using Verizon, they've got good service, but if they're using AT&T, they don't. I would probably put a landline here because you're not going to check all your guests and go AT&T or Verizon so you want to make it as easy as possible. And again, remember, this is to protect your home. You're helping them out, and it could be worth that $100 investment, a month or whatever.
All right. I think that's it. We are at 6:03. I want to be respectful of your time, just in your East Coast, so it's getting really late here. We should have this recorded up soon. If not, you could go to my Facebook page. There's a live recording there. And also we have it up on the Healthcare Professionals Investing in Real Estate. I shared it on there. Really, really good information. I want everyone to just rewatch a lot of that stuff because I think it's gonna help save a life, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, Justin, thank you especially for all the examples you gave. I mean, all the photos, it just really solidifies how important it is to just see it. All those issues that you're pointing out, even it makes us a little more observant, right? When we're putting up our listings or looking and even going and staying at these Airbnbs. So awesome. And then one last question. Someone asked how to get access to the safety course.
Yeah, so when you go to our website, it's on there, and shoot me an email and I'll give the people, I took a screenshot of all the names that are here, and shoot me an email through that safety@breezeway.io, and I'll send you a promo code so you don't have to pay the $350 for those that put an effort in to come tonight. And then you can tell everybody else they should have come. But the thing that I want to quickly close out on is that don't feel overwhelmed by this. I know I kind of scared you a little bit. I want you to look at it this way. This is actually the one thing you can solve. You'll never know the right thread count to make guests happy. You'll never know if the mattress is too firm or too soft, the pillow's too firm, the toilet paper is too rough or whatever. You can never meet those. Your pricing, you're never going to get right. You're going to give away a week as a bargain, and you're going to charge too much and not get a booking. But the one thing you can actually do is you can make your rental property safe. There's a checklist. You go through it. The only reason a renter should get hurt in your property is because they do something stupid. They tie their shoelaces together and they trip over them. They put the banana peel on the floor. But you can set it up and operate that way. And we've got 100,000 examples of that. The really cool thing that I'll emphasize is the reason we've been doing this program with proper insurance now for 3 years. They have had zero, not one, 0 claims come in on any property that's gone through our safety certification, and they're looking to expand the program because of that. So I think that's a selling point within all of it. And I think it's really important to emphasize that.
Justin, how can people get a hold of you?
Safety@breezeway.io. And then you can follow me. I post stories every day that I can on Instagram, short-term rental safety. I'm on Facebook, short-term rental safety. I do a lot of different posts on LinkedIn. I use all the social media channels differently. My Facebook page is where I share all the terrible events that are happening in the country. And then Instagram is where I try and do a lot of education. And LinkedIn is where I kind of focus more on a general look at the industry. And I'm always in all the different Airbnb groups commenting about different things when I see it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here. If you were here, take a look at his offer that he suggested, that certification. It sounds great. And we will catch you all next month.
Right. See you guys.
Thanks
Good
for
night.
having me.
Thanks, Justin. It was
Thanks,
amazing.
guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.